Hello, we're at IBC and have an opportunity to speak with Steve Epstein, who is Distinguished Engineer for Service Provider Data and Analytics. Steve, thanks a lot for speaking with us, and it's an opportune time to have this conversation because we're now in this phase where everybody's going to IP. It's understood that's happening, no argument there. But that's opening up not only a whole new realm of business opportunity and business models and discussion around that, but also a whole new level of concern about security. And so I'd like to focus our conversation on that and kind of get your feeling for what has changed that it brings into focus a need for high-level security that may not have been on people's minds up to now. And let's start with the production side. The media companies, they've been operating in this very closed, safe environment, and haven't had to give a second thought to anything except maybe a firewall or two here and there. Now all of a sudden, it's all on IP. So how are you guys addressing that, and what are you bringing to the table to make it more secure for these guys?
That's a great question. Now that the production side has gone from SDI to IP or SDI over IP, they have a big problem. In other words, they have to protect their content, they have to protect their data. In many ways, enterprises do today, and therefore they're going to need a lot of the same enterprise technologies. They have to make sure they have very strong policies in terms of who can access the content, when they can access the content, what they can do with their content, and they have to enforce those policies. It means making sure your firewall is correctly configured, enabling only those workstations to get the content they need when they need it. They have to make sure that the malware is impenetrable. They have to check that if anyone goes outside the network to a web server, that web server is safe and has no potential to have malware. In other words, no DNS attack. They have to use reputation. And they have to look at all the IP flows, deep packet inspection, check all the packets going across the network, that there's no way they could train malware, in order to ensure that that content remains safe, remains in the network, and remains only modifiable by those workstations which have access and privileges to access that content. We have a whole lot of solutions. We've bought many, many different companies over the years, and we tied all those solutions together. Anti-malware solutions, flow detection solutions, machine learning solutions where we detect all sorts of potential attacks, anomaly detection solutions, and we put them all together. And we believe that, as you'll see in the demo, that the combination of all the solutions will give you that multifaceted, multi-layered approach, which really will keep your content safe.
Well, I guess that's good news that there's actually something out there that's already fully baked in this direction that doesn't have to be invented for this sudden surge of threat that comes with this IP conversion at the production level. On the service provider side, we have a very different picture. They've been secure forever, but now again, moving to IP, there's that issue, but there's also just the issue of the sophistication of piracy and how
Sure.
and how advanced it's become and successful it's become in breaking down those very high level protections established in CA and DRM. And we've seen the new recommendations put out by Movie Labs. Of course, it has all kinds of moving parts, watermarking the most prominent one. How are you seeing from the service provider reaction to this prospect? Are they understanding that? Are they really gearing up to prepare for what are going to be the new licensing terms?
Mm-hmm. So I believe the service provider understands that. It's a much more complex problem because not only is distribution going IP as well, but also you distribute to a multitude of devices. Right? A service provider today is just not distributing to a single managed set-top box like he once did, when he has control over the hardware and can use the tamper-proof hardware to protect the content. He has to distribute to many devices which he can't control the hardware, tablets and smartphones and PlayStations and Roku devices, and he wants to be able to deliver his 4K content or all his content, both the high value and low value content, to all the devices. So the combination of IP distribution, such as OTT, not only satellite and cable distribution, and a multitude of devices, and the new requirements to have trusted execution environments and to control what software can access what content, makes the service provider's life quite difficult, which is why he needs a single holistic approach, such as what our product, VideoGuard Everywhere, which really can solve all of his problems because we deal with content to any device over any distribution environment in an extremely secure way, one that meets all the new requirements. We believe that the real holistic approach of combining the production side security, which we talked about, with the distribution and endpoint security, which we also just mentioned, and put together in a single solution is really the requirement. And that's something which really we believe only Cisco can do. But there's another element, which is the anti-piracy, and that you talked about as well. There's some things you can't prevent. If people want to put a frame grabber, the output of the HDMI, and access the output of the content after it's decrypted by the frame grabber acting like a television, or if people want to share their credentials with others, like we also, which is also a form of privacy, the fact that I have access to content and I can enter a password, but now I give the password to 32 friends, that's something which you can't prevent, and therefore you need very strong detection. You mentioned watermarking, which is one of the critical elements, knowing where was the source of the content, but you need to be able to find those websites. So you need to be able to locate the websites, check the watermark, and then take those websites down, or take the set-top box, which is feeding, or the device, not only the set-top box, which is feeding the website down.
Do you have the back-end support, not just technologically, but in terms of the links into the enforcement community and all the things that go into beginning to move the market, where it's, if you're going to go to all the trouble to slap on the watermarks, then you have some means of using them.
So we have automatic detection capabilities that plug into our back end. They actually plugs into our VideoGuard Everywhere background, which will show you where the pirated content is coming from, and actually be able to take down those sources automatically.
So you can do that in real time on live theft.
Yes.
As you look at this new element that 2 years ago it seemed like an awful hard climb for service providers based on how the watermarking technology was designed. Many steps to get it integrated into their servers and make it all work. Has that gotten simpler?
It's still a very complex problem, but it's a problem that's being solved, and we're trying to solve it. It's important to solve it for every encoding standard. So whether it's HEVC or MPEG-2 or H.264, we believe we could, both at the client or especially the head end, place the appropriate watermarking in, one that's very difficult to detect. It's important that with service providers are demanding covert watermarks and not overt watermarks where, whether it's a collusion attack or there's no way the pirate could block the watermark or know where the watermark is to hide it. And that's the sort of watermark which we're working on, and that technology does exist, and it's one that we will provide.
Are you convinced at this point that this is now becoming table stakes for playing in the pay TV marketplace? In other words, do service providers have the latitude, the luxury of postponing and thinking about this as some future event, or is this now right on the horizon and stuff they have to take care of?
Well, we're hoping it's on the horizon, because if it's not, you can have a lot of illegal streaming and commercial streaming out there. So we're hoping that it gets enough press and people see our solutions, and the media providers enforce it and the service providers adopt it as a way of protecting the industry from this piracy.
Well, the way piracy is going and the noise I've heard lately about it, it sounds like people truly are starting to get concerned.
So we believe the concern's out there, but there still has to be a some sort of standard or some sort of commitment to adopting these technologies to prevent it.
Okay, well, we'll look at the demo and see some of the detail on what you've been talking about. Thanks so much, Steve, for taking the time to speak with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Fred.